Hello friends, welcome to another episode of Killingly Public Library's craft videos. Today we will be making a patriotic gnome, perfect for our summer celebrations and decor. Let's start with some yarn. You could certainly use some fake fur if you have it. I had the yarn and it was easy enough to do. I'm going to take and wrap it around just 3 of my fingers. You could do 4 if you want. You probably would end up trimming a little of the yarn, but I'm going to wrap it maybe about 12 or 15 times, and I wasn't really counting because I'm talking, so we'll see what happens here. So after you get it wrapped, just snip it off and then take another piece and slide it in here like so. Okay, and I'm just gonna slide it off my fingers, and I will knot this and knot it good and tight. You don't want the yarn getting pulled out, and you'll see why in just a minute. So really tug on that and make sure it's good and tight. And after you do that, you can stick your scissors in there and cut the loops so that we have, oops, I missed one, see? So there you go. So now you've got kind of a tassel-y looking thing. You can trim this if you'd like, but you may as well just wait and do it after, because we're going to make a mess with this. So we're going to take the little tassel that we've made, and now we're going to comb the yarn. And so do hold on to this pretty good, because if you didn't tie it tight enough, you could pull the yarn right out of here. But just kind of comb it, and you can see probably how the yarn looks. I mean, I did run the comb through a few times, but it looks like yarn. It's not really beard-like, which is kind of what I'm looking for my gnome. I want it to look kind of fluffy, and if you have fluffy yarn, then it wouldn't matter. It would, but I didn't. This is real thin yarn, so I'm just kind of combing it, and that's what I would do, is just comb this a little and fluff it out and get the strands separated. And you'll see, because I do have some already done here, so you can see that, see the difference. I know I did comb this one slightly, but this one is nice and fluffy, and just it looks more like a beard would look than yarn. So I'm gonna just put that aside, and I can play with it later if I need to add a little more to my gnome. So I've got this, I'm just going to set it aside here. And the next thing I wanted to do was make a template for my gnome hat. And I made kind of like a pie-shaped wedge. You can see the bottom is kind of curved a little bit, and it looks like a triangle with not a straight bottom. From this end to this end, it is about 5 1/4, 5 1/2 inches, and from the tip to the bottom here is 4 1/2 inches. So just to give you an estimate, and certainly play around and see what works for you, and it doesn't have to, you can make a taller hat. You know, you do kind of maybe not want to make it too much wider at the bottom, because it'll just fall over the K-cup, which is the base of our gnome. So if you want to, before you go cutting any material, just to see if this fits, you can just kind of hold it around your K-cup and say, okay, that works. And we're just going to either glue, or you could staple the hat once it's assembled and ready to go. So just to know that you're just going to attach it this way, so to make your you know, just to make and see if you have gotten the right size that you need. And I already have my red felt pre-cut and ready to go. I used my template. And also I made a little white star, and I cut out, where is it here? I cut it out of some blue felt because I wanted to, like I said, make a patriotic gnome. You could certainly do some, got yarn stuck to my fingers. You could certainly do a white stars. I mean, you could even do white stripes. You know, embellish your hat any way you'd like. I wanted to go with the blue star because I figured my beard was white because I'm using leftover white yarn. If you're using gray or black or brown, or maybe you want to give them a blue beard, I don't know, then you know, maybe a red hat with white stars would look fine. But that's where I am going with it. I am going to take my hat and just fold the two edges here to meet, and I'm going to staple mine just so you can see that stapling will work just fine. And I'm actually going to start at the tip, I guess, and work my way down. There you can see the row of staples down the side of the hat. You could certainly sew this, or like I said, glue it. I just wanted to show a different option, just, you know, so that whatever you may have on hand you could use. Now we're just going to carefully turn it right side too, and do be careful. It, you know, if you're, the felt I'm using is kind of thin, so it's pretty delicate. If I didn't staple well, I could certainly pull the staple out. So I'm just gonna turn the hat right side to here, and I can use the end of my comb to kind of push the little tip out. There, that's good enough. And so then you can check and see if this is going to indeed fit on your K-cup. Oops. Which mine does. Okay. So now let's see. I'm going to take and glue my blue star on. I want to make my embellishments 180 degrees from my seam. Oh, and by the way, there's my seam. You can't even tell that I use staples. So I'm going to put the star on the front here, and I thought I would also take some baker's twine. It's red and white, and I'm going to glue it under the star, and just make it kind of look like red and white stripes coming out. So there's one piece kind of just, and so I'm going to glue that on. I have cut a few, and I may have to trim them as well. You could do something totally different. Maybe you want to just cover the whole hat with stars, or maybe you just want the hat left plain. Maybe you want to take like one of those little toothpicks that have like the American flag on it, and, you know, have that in your gnome's, you know, just kind of stick it next to your gnome to make it kind of like he's holding it, or however you want to create and give it a little patriotic feel. So I'm just going to use my hot glue and dab on some of these threads I have here. Here, so I glued my star and I've glued on my strings. I am going to take and just trim these strings because I didn't want them hanging over the edge. Maybe you like that, and you could certainly leave them, but I wanted to have it a little different. So that's kind of the look I was looking for. I was not exactly sure how I wanted to lay the strings down, but I ended up laying them so that they butted up against each other. You could alternate, I suppose, too, and have an open space and then another string. Or you could do something totally different with your design. But this is my little hat for my patriotic gnome. Now I want to take and glue the beard pieces that I made. I ended up making 4 pieces. I'm not counting the one that I showed you at the beginning because I didn't finish that one. But I have 4 different beard pieces, and I'm going to just glue them on, and they're maybe a little thin, but that's okay because I'm using the white with the white. If you're using a different color, you know, maybe some black yarn or gray yarn or something like that, the white might show through, so maybe you would need to make more pieces or make it thicker, wrap it around your fingers some more times. If you're using fake fur, then it would not even show, the K-cup would not show. So there, I'm just going to go and glue them around to kind of fill in just about maybe half of the K-cup or so. I'm not going to do the back. As a display item, the back would most likely be hidden. So that is my choice. If you wanted, you could certainly put the beard all around the K-cup and hide it as a K-cup and just make it like that. That would be fine. And I'm just running a little glue along the top edge there, and I'm going to stick my beard on like so. Okay, and I'll overlap a little and add another one. So there you go, you can see that. And my third one. This way, I guess. And I'll add one more right here. All right. So that's my fuzzy little beard. And you can take your comb and comb it out and fill it in any way that you would like it to be, like so. And if you want it trimmed, you could certainly trim it. I'm not going to worry about trimming it. I do have a bead here. It's a bead. It has holes. That was what I could find, and I wanted to just stick it on there. You could take, if you wanted to give it some color, if you have mine's just a wooden bead, you could take and color like with a red marker or a pink marker if you have it, onto like a cotton ball. Brush it off a little on some paper just so it's not so bright and it ends up being more pink or so onto your bead. And you could do something like that and give it a little color. Or you can just leave it wooden, or maybe you have a pom-pom. You could use like a light pale pink pom-pom or a white pom-pom, or if you know, whatever color you want your nose to be. So there, he's got a little bit of color to his nose. And I'm going to glue it on kind of in the middle of where the beard is, and then I'm just going to pull some of the yarn up to kind of hide the holes, because I do have the holes. So if I glue it so that my holes are on each side here, and then I can pull a little of the yarn up and kind of tack it to it, then it hides the hole, doesn't, you know, look too bad. So I've glued the nose on there. And I'm just gonna put a little glue at the hole, just to kind of clean up some of the beard. And it kind of hides it a little bit. Just, I don't know, I just didn't want to see the hole. All right, I've hid my holes a little bit as best I could. And now the last thing is just to put his hat on top. So there we have it, our little patriotic gnome. I didn't glue the hat down, but you certainly can do that. With the nose there, it does kind of make it a little hard to stay on. But if you aren't going to be moving it around and it's just going to be sitting still up on a shelf or something, then, you know, there's probably no need to do that. And then if you wanted, you could change the hat out for seasons, you know, maybe make some bunny ears for Easter time, or an orange hat, you know, for the fall or whatever. But there you go. Just something to do with the K-Cup and some scraps we had laying around the office. I hope you enjoy this episode of our craft video series, and I look forward to seeing your projects. Please submit them to info@killinglypl. I'd love to see them. And thanks for stopping in today. Have a great day.